All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into the pretty wild claims of a man named Jason Shora. He claims to be a spokesperson for a super secret group called TLS, or the Light System. And let me tell you, this is a story that goes far beyond anything you'd consider normal everyday life. Yeah, that's a direct quote from the man himself. Shora's story is this tangled web of secret societies, aliens, and what you could only call superhuman powers. Now look, the point of this explainer isn't to convince you of anything. Not at all. We're just here to lay out the claims exactly as he presents them. What you choose to do with all this information, well, that's completely up to you. So, you've got to be asking, who is this Jason Shura guy? Well, before all this started, he was a really successful 26-year-old. He was running his family's real estate business, had a totally comfortable set path ahead of him. But he claims that taking on this role as a spokesperson, it's made his life way harder, super inconvenient. And that kind of brings up the big question, right? Why would a guy like that risk absolutely everything? Okay, so we've talked about the messenger. Now let's get to the message itself. What in the world is the Light System, according to him? Well, according to Shora, TLS is basically the good guy version of all those shadowy secret agencies we hear about. Think of it like the CIA, but instead of spying, their whole mission is to help humanity evolve. Their number one role, their prime directive, is to assist and guide our collective consciousness. But, and this is a huge but, they never interfere with our free will. And we're not talking about some small-time operation here. Shura claims TLS has something like 8,500 initiated agents. Their real power isn't in big buildings or official headquarters. It's in their people. They've got branches in every major city, sure, and they even have agents deep inside places like NASA and the Pentagon. But their influence comes from what these agents do on the inside. It's an intergalactic organization that works from the ground up. Okay, but this is where the story really takes a turn. What these agents can supposedly do? Well, it moves us way beyond secret ops and straight into territory that, honestly, most of us would just call supernatural. Shura lays out this whole menu of incredible abilities. First up is something called transducing, which is basically influencing someone through energy and vibration. Then you've got your classics, levitation and telepathy, but then there's this one called totemime. And yeah, I know it's a mouthful, which is supposedly a way to use water to travel almost instantly. Imagine stepping into the ocean in California and popping out seconds later in Tel Aviv. Crazy, right? Oh, and shapeshifting. Can't forget that. But here's the kicker. Shura insists this isn't magic. He says these are all dormant, natural abilities that every human has, and TLS just teaches its agents how to unlock them. So this is where the story gets even bigger. I mean, we've been throwing around the word intergalactic, which leads to a pretty big question. Are all the members of this organization actually human? The answer, according to Shura, is a hard no. He says there are 3 main extraterrestrial races that work right alongside TLS here on Earth. You've got the Nasha, that's spelled Nashia, who he says look kind of like ancient Mayans. Then there are the CIA, spelled CIA, who are described as Pleiadian-like. And finally, the Konum, Konum, who are apparently dolphin-like beings. And get this, he claims they all work together with humans out of the TLS headquarters, right in New York City. So you're probably wondering, how do they just walk among us without anyone noticing? Well, Shura calls it holographic shapeshifting. It's apparently a process that takes about a year, where these beings learn to make themselves less dense, kind of like becoming less solid. Then they shift their form into a human appearance and re-densify. Boom, a perfect human disguise, letting them live and work on Earth completely unnoticed. Okay, so let's just recap for a second. We've got the secret alliance of humans and ETs, all with these mind-bending abilities. So what's the mission? What do they actually do? Well, this is where the story goes deep underground into a secret global conflict being fought right under our feet. Shura claims there's this massive, secret global network of deep underground military bases, or dumps, and he says they're all connected by a magnetic levitation train system, a system that can travel at a staggering 17,000 miles per hour. I mean, to put that in perspective, he says a trip from New York to Portugal would take just 22 minutes. And this very train system, he says, became a battlefield. Now, this is probably one of the most shocking parts of his story. Shura claims that back in August 2019, TLS got a heads up that a global pandemic and lockdowns were on the way. So they decided to use that global shutdown as cover for a massive secret op, to go in and destroy these underground bases and tunnels. He says it was an absolutely brutal secret war and that TLS lost over 2,000 of its agents in the fighting. So what's his proof for this secret war? Shura says that TLS told him to just watch the global earthquake data. And he claims that during this time, a whole bunch of earthquakes started popping up with a very weird signature. They were all happening at an exact depth of 10 kilometers. Not 9.9, not 10.1, exactly 10. And this, he argues, was the evidence, the digital footprint, of TLS systematically blowing up these underground bases. So, after all this cosmic drama, this secret underground war, you have to wonder, what's the point of it all? And this gets us to the core philosophy of TLS. Shura is crystal clear on this. They are not here to save us. Nothing outside of humanity can save humanity. They can help, they can guide, but at the end of the day, saving ourselves is our job. And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. It doesn't matter if you believe this story is fact, or if you think it's pure science fiction, or maybe some kind of metaphor. The whole story of the light system keeps coming back to one really provocative question. If all these supernatural abilities, the telepathy, the shapeshifting, are really just natural human potentials that are lying dormant, then what does that say about the power that might be hidden inside every single one of us?